Yo, 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 what's up, what's up, what do you do? This is Katlego, the founder of Smart is Cool. I thought I should just do this quick video and share this with everybody who is like me, has dreams, has ambitions, goals that they want to achieve, but have often struggled to follow through and make them a reality. Setting up new resolutions, setting new goals has always been my thing. And for many years, I struggled to actually follow through and achieve my goals. So I just want to share my story from a scientific perspective. I've termed this how your brain works and what to do to make positive habits stick, right? Very important thing. I won't dwell on it too much. Was for me to understand, how I am, deeply scientifically as a person, understand my psychology and why it has been so hard for me, to do things that I intended to do. Most of the time, we hear that we lack motivation, or we are not as committed as we should be. Things are not working out as I wish that they would. Not because I didn't really want them, I was motivated, but it was just very difficult for me to get rid of the friction and get on with the things that I knew that I needed to do, but I was not able to do for some reason, right? So this presentation will focus mainly on my life and what I learned that helped me change certain habits and build other habits that have helped me to close what we call the action intention gap to achieve my goals. So without further ado, let's go to the next slide. So the objectives are simple. Remember, this is not a masterclass or anything. It's about me. It's about my life. And if in a point in your life right now that you feel like you are not able to follow through on what you intend to do, then this is for you. I'm doing this strictly for people who need to understand why they behave the way they do and what they can do to change those behaviors. Yeah, those are the two objectives of this presentation. One of my favorite quotes is this, right? Today is the fruit of yesterday and the seed of tomorrow. I love this quote because it goes deeper than you reap what you sow per se, but it's very related. So whatever future you want, right, you have to start building it today. That's what this quote is saying. And whatever present you have today is because of your past, and that's the first level. The second level that I like about this quote, because it's an analogy about a tree and a fruit, is that when you have to plant a tree and produce fruits out of it, it takes patience, it takes time, it takes the right environment. You need the water, you need the sun, you need to prune. You need to really take care of the tree to make sure that it bears fruit. That's similar to us as a people, right? So see your goals as the fruit that you'll be enjoying, but there's this process that takes place, and this system and people, and networks, etc., mentors that you might need to help you to go forward. Yeah, that's why I like this quote. So this was me. This photo just illustrates a point in my life where things were not just going the way I wanted them to go. I was weighing about 70 kg, and for my height, that's quite a lot. I was on the line of obesity according to Discovery Vitality. Lacked energy, so every time I came back from work, I wanted nothing but eat, watch TV, and sleep. My weekends were also not productive in a sense that I would spend most of the day sleeping or watching TV, binge watching TV. I didn't have enough money to travel. If I went out with friends, it would be like, okay, guys, let's go out clubbing, just to numb that, I guess, pain at that point of, not being where I thought that I would, at that age. So this photo illustrates that, right? And I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to progress in my career. I wanted to finish my master's, which was stuck. And it took me from the day that I started, well, the year I started my master's was 2010, and I only graduated in 2020. So you can imagine that's 10 years. But between 2012, 2013, and 2018, there was basically no activity from my side. trying to finish it, right? But every year saying I'm going to finish it, I'm going to finish, but never got to do it. My weight, going on certain diet plans, failing, going, exercising, stopping after 3 months, things like that. So it lack a lack of consistency to follow through on my actions and goals. I read these 3 books. I won't dwell on them too much, but they are a huge part of how I think about myself, how I think about people, and basically changed my life. And they because I use certain things that I learned from here to create tools and systems for myself, that have changed my life for the better today. So yeah, so I will go through those a bit later, also in detail. When you see this lady, what do you think, right? You can see that it's about to go down, right? You don't even have to think hard about it. It just comes to you subconsciously, right? And you would know in the situation that you might have to protect yourself if something's about to go down here, right? No thinking required. Look at this next slide. Read that for me quickly. Hope you're done. um, if you just read that quickly, you might have missed that they're actually, the sentences are not written the way you read them. So the first line says, "What I if told you," instead of "What if I told you," but you probably read it the other way around because, that's how our brains work. They limit the effort that we have to put and take our environment and make sense of it so that, we can get on with life. So that's why I'm putting the slide here. I'll explain the significance of this as I go. Next slide. If I say 17 times 24, what happens to you now? You don't have, an instantaneous, automatic response of what's the response here, right? But with the first slide when I showed you, you knew what was happening. Second slide, you knew, oh, I have to read, and you read, but making a mistake that actually the sentences were written correctly but were not. With this one, you are taken aback and you are sort of forced to engage your conscious brain, and actively try to solve this problem, right? So I just wanted to illustrate that from a system point of view. So there are 3 concepts, that were very important for me, and one was this understanding systems 1 and 2. So what the slides I showed you, system 1 is your subconscious, automatic, less effort, part. Rather, I'll call it a mode of functionality of your brain. Something that kicks in and you just do it. You don't have to think a lot. That slide that I showed of 17 times 24, where you had to engage now your conscious brain and try to solve that problem, right? Think back to primary school. How did I do multiplication? Or at least say, oh, let me get a calculator. So more conscious, requiring effort. So I'll explain that later, why this is important. And then there's a second concept called scarcity, is that, when you don't have enough of something, it can affect how you behave in totality. So I'll also explain that later. So not having enough money, or not having enough time doesn't only affect, your budget in terms of where you can spend and where you could travel, but it can affect how you behave with other things that are unrelated to that specific problem. It's a crazy concept, guys. But yeah, one of those very important things that have been, deeply researched. And the third one is about, you know, rewiring your brain, right? Most of us have been told, or have learned and have thought, that we are inflexible, right? That our personalities are fixed, that if you can't do something, we can never do it. We are where we are, this is who we are. But, science has shown us, that the concept of neuroplasticity, that means that your brain is malleable, it's flexible, it changes based on the experiences that you feed it. So even at an older age, you can change to become someone that you were not, when you were 25, and now you're starting at 35. You could be totally someone different. Maybe you didn't like exercising, you could be an exerciser. You didn't like reading, you could read now, 20 books, whatever, a year. So that concept is actually quite important as well, when it comes to behavior change, right? Now I'm going to go a bit deeper, but I'm going to be quick, because I don't want this video to be too long. So I already said system one, automatic, it's involuntary, you don't need a lot of effort. That's the fast thinking system. System two is deliberate, conscious, and requires a lot of effort. But there's a balance between these two because our brain does not want to call on to system two when it's not necessary. So most of the time, most of us are on that automatic, brain mode. And system two will only come in to check whether system one, is doing what it's supposed to be doing if necessary. But system two, the thing is, requires so much energy, and our brains, right? Our in nature as a people, we are lazy. Using system two comes at a cost, and we have limited brain resources, on a daily basis. So our bodies, our brain will always try to minimize the effort in order to optimize, the energy resources that exist. That's why if you feel, if you're in a place where you feel stressed, right? For many people, it will be easier to take something that requires less energy, like sitting and binge watching a comedy that will make them laugh to feel, a sense of pleasure and relieve the stress, compared to, actually saying, okay, I'm stressed, and getting your stress right on and saying, okay, what's the problem? Why am I stressed? Okay, let me come up with solutions, because that requires more energy, that requires more brain, more mind for you to do that. Basically, laziness is just built into our nature. That's the point that I want you guys to take home here. Scarcity. So, scarcity is a subjective sense of needing more resources. So that's important. Subjective means it's you. It's internal. It's how you feel. It's how you think. I could have 5,000 rands, but feel like, okay, this is enough money for me to get through my life. This is fine. I'm happy. There could be someone who's getting paid, 10 times more, 50,000 more than me, but they feel like, damn, I need to earn 80,000, so 50,000 is not enough. So, in terms of scarcity, how that would affect you, the person who's now earning 50,000 would be affected by this phenomenon, but not the one who has 5,000. So, subjective sense is an important part of this, the scientific phenomenon and how your brain is affected. So, what scarcity does is that it affects both your um, least effort brain, which is your system one, also as your system two. So it attacks essentially the entire mind, right? And it forces your system to protect, important activities at that time, so that they receive attention. Remember, I spoke about how our minds live on a budget, right? We have a budget, so we don't have endless, limited resources on a daily basis. So if you need to focus on submitting an assignment now, tomorrow, and you left with 5 hours, your system two will make sure that system one, whatever you do, don't be thinking too much about being hungry or thirsty. A lot of people will tell you, yo, I haven't been to a toilet. I've just been working on this essay for the past 5 hours. Most of us who've been through school and procrastinated understand that phenomenon. That's when scarcity is actually kicked in, and allows you to pull dramatic feats, or yeah, things that normally you wouldn't be able to do. Key things that it results in, and I've touched on them, right? So what I spoke about now, when I'm talking about an assignment or maybe a work output that you have to do, right, is that scarcity will create what's called a focus dividend. So whatever resources of attention you have at that point, you focus them just on one thing. Like, okay, I need to finish this piece of work. And anything else, even if you are a person addicted to binge watching, Netflix, it won't come too much to your mind, because your mind is like, listen, this is important, and fixes you on that. And that also goes with channeling, right? So you ignore everything else, and then you just focus on one thing. But except just closing out everything, you have so much more creativity, you have so much more mind for that one particular thing, right? Which is finishing the exam. I know most of us, I'm sure, have done that, where you're like, wow, I can't believe I wrote this in 2 hours. oh, I can't believe, that I was able to study this long, but all this time I wasn't. And now I understand certain concepts at a short time, and you go write or you submit an essay and maybe it doesn't come with the mark that you wanted, but you're like, given the time that I put in, this is actually quite good. It gives you that focus dividend channeling so that you can get the things that you need to do at that moment, that immediate moment, and focus on them and do them as well as possible, essentially. But then this comes with a disadvantage, right? It's a positive thing, but comes with a disadvantage because what happens is that you have less mind now when your mind has been captured by something, right? That you are focusing on it, you are tunneling on it. You don't have mind for anything else. Remember earlier I said you might not even go to the toilet, you might not even feel hungry. It does not mean that there's no need to do those things. It's still there as every day, but at that time, like just your brain shuts everything out. If something were to happen, like someone were to call you or say hi while you're busy, focusing on this thing, you will probably not even see them. Now after I knew all these things, and I was like, okay, damn, now I understand why I couldn't finish my homework. I understand, from a young age. I understand why I never really studied well enough, never finished studying. But I was fortunate enough to get what I got, and it got me to university. But in university, I was struggling, right? And in my second year, where it required a lot of my time and effort, I couldn't put it in. I nearly failed. I got like 50. But at least I got to the third year. But I was on the verge of actually um, failing. But this sort of habits are stuck with me. Me being lazy, me being ill disciplined. Me not being able to follow through on what I planned to do. When I started working and started having a family, all these things boom, 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 like a dominoes. And I couldn't now, with least effort, with my laziness, get to the goals that I wanted now. Now life requires more of me, right, to keep going ahead. So that's when, what do they say? The penny dropped. That I need to change my life. So I learned all of those concepts. And at least I knew that I was not fixed. I could change this. And I just wanted to understand why I was failing to actually do things that I wanted to do. And this is a Warren Buffett quote that says the chains of habit are too light to be felt, right? Until they are too heavy to be broken. That's quite important. When you start things, it's like, yeah, it's easy going. You're not aware that you're building habits. You're changing your brain. Remember neuroplasticity, your brain changes with every activity experience that it feeds, right? So at some point you've now become this person who actually procrastinates, this person who doesn't exercise, this person who binge watches TV after school, after then it becomes after work. Now those things are too heavy. When you actually need to break out of them and need to do more, you actually can't. It's more difficult, so it's heavy. So it's always best to start with good habits when you're younger and build those in, and then generally you become a more productive adult, healthy adult, because you've been exercising, you've been reading, you've been meditating, you've been able to study after school, etc. So all these things you take them to adulthood. For some of us, it was a different story. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that's why I like that quote very much because it really ties it all in. Your habits, you as a person, based on the molecular physiology of the brain, leading to your behavior. And now, your outcomes being quote unquote, bad or rubbish, things that you don't actually want. And then there's this code also, which I think I should, highlight is it is not change if it's not hard in the beginning. I used to like this code because I was like, yeah, change is hard, man. Yeah, if like the previous thing that I said, right? You've become this new person now, so you can't just change overnight. So change is hard, for you to go from a guy who has goals but comes and sits down on the couch and watches TV, has a beer, or a parent who's, like, kids want your attention, throw them with an iPad, to go to someone who's more engaged with your child, someone who's like more active, like go after work, hit the gym, come back, maybe sit down with the family, eat a nice dinner, things like that. But then I realized, no, man, as I was starting to build my things, you can make change easy. It's just that it will take long, and you just have to be patient with yourself, kind with yourself, and just, develop a process, set it up, follow through, be consistent, and trust it. And then over time, change will happen, right? Because what you're doing now is that you are creating new neural networks. We spoke about how the brain changes. Your brain will be changing based on those different experiences now that you are doing currently. But most of us, when we look at change is hard, is that I would want to go from OTM cover and have abs, in 3 months, 6 months. When I talk to those guys in the gym, they'll be like, dude, I was playing rugby or I was playing soccer, I've been an athlete since high school. And essentially, I've always had abs. And you're like, oh, shucks, I had cover, and I started training 6 months ago. And I'm like, man, I want to be like you, because you were thinking based on this ads that we see that after 3 months you'll be ripped. But it doesn't work like that. And the thing is that when you try to work at that person's rate, right? When you start to exercise, now you want to run 10 kilometers. Now you want to lift very quickly. Now you want to do all the heat, interesting, heavy training, da 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 da. You can do it for a while, but the things that it might not be sustainable for most of us, it's not, because what you're doing is that you're creating friction from your brain, right? You're going from this life of being, you know, life of a sedentary lifestyle, right? Where you are not doing anything, and then you want to do the extreme things. You can do it for a while, but then you crash, right? Because your brain is like, hey, dude, slow down. What is this? This is painful. You can't keep up that level of energy or high motivation, doing extreme things to change yourself. 3 hours of habit formation. No, now understanding change, right? Because now I understood how the brain functions, what are the issues, why am I not able to do certain things. Now kicked in, solution mode, right? How do I form new habits now? How do I go from being a lazy couch potato to being more active? How do I go from coming back and saying, oh, I'm only gonna work on my master's thesis on a weekend or when I have leave from work, to actually working on it on a daily basis so that I can finish it. And how do I engage better at work? Network a bit more, talk to my seniors a bit more, to look at opportunities, instead of relaxing and waiting for things to happen to me or to come to me, right? So there are certain things I had to do myself, and form new habits. So I learned more about habits formation, and knew that any habit to start forming needs a reminder or a prompt, and then after that prompt, you do your behavior, which is your action, which over time will become a routine because you're forming a habit. And then that action usually for this behavior or activity or action to be imprinted in your brain, right, as something that you do routinely, there has to be a reward immediately after, right? So a reward has to be something pleasurable. It has to be nice, good feel, so that you get the kick of dopamine, and then it imprints in your brain, so you keep doing it. And that's why, when you get in to your TV room, you see the remote, that's the prompt, right? And then you switch it on, and actually for most of us, it might even be just on our laptops. You switch it on and you go to the TV, right? That your prompt was the prompt was just the remote, you seeing it. And now you switch on the TV and you watch something you like. That's your behavior watching. And then, the reward is the pleasure that you get from, the entertainment that's coming from that series or that movie, that you're watching, and it feels good. You get a nice kick in, and your brain tells you, man, this is a good behavior, because it's very positive. So keep on doing this thing. That's how a habit forms, right? So that's very important to keep in mind when you're doing anything or want to change any behavior. And then I showed you Tiny Habits earlier, and this is the book by BJ Fogg. He's a behavior design coach, who talks about you need to take small changes, to change your behavior. So small change can change everything. Most of us don't want to start small because we don't think it's sexy. I touched on this a bit earlier. we want to go for extremities. But he has this, it's called a fog behavior model, which explains nicely that you need an ability and motivation and a prompt, to act. So if something is very hard to do, you're gonna need high motivation, right, to do it. So most of the time, you can do very hard things, when you are very motivated, like studying an all-nighter because tomorrow you're writing, you don't have a choice. So that's high motivation. I'm gonna fail if I don't study today. Then you pull in an all-nighter, right? But that's actually a hard thing to do, but the motivation is high, but you are able to do it. And this also speaks to, that focus dividend and the scarcity phenomenon that I spoke about earlier. And you are able to do it, but you cannot do it every day, you know so it's unsustainable. Motivation is good, for things that are once in a while, not things that you need to do every day. So if you want to do things on a daily basis, frequently, often, they need to feel easy. You have to have the ability to do them, so that even if you are low on motivation, I don't feel like studying today, or I don't feel like reading, I don't feel like exercising, you still do them, right? So if you're gonna say, I run 40 kilometers every day, yeah, that's my goal. That's hard to do because 40 kilometers gonna take you hours to run. Obviously your brain tells you, yo, dude, you need to wake up at 4 to do this, and then you're gonna run, da 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 da, and then you're gonna be tired. So it's a very, very difficult goal, right, to have on a daily basis or even a weekly basis. So if you want to run, it would be better to make that easy. Maybe just say, I'm gonna run for 15 minutes today. Once 15 minutes feels easier to you, you can increase that to, 30 minutes, etc. So this is what this model is about. It's about making things easy to do so that you do them, even though that you don't, even though you then feel like doing them at that moment. Because remember, when you do them, right, there's that, it's a routine, and then you finish them the way you had planned to finish them. That tells your brain, oh, look, this wasn't so bad. Then it can be build a habit. It becomes a habit for you now to actually run. If you want to read, you say, I'm going to just read for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or just read 2 pages. That builds into something bigger over time, right? Yeah, and I think someone who has actually also written about this similar thing is on Atomic Habits. I forgot the guy's name, but it came after this. And the fog model is just more scientific for me, so I haven't read the Atomic Habits yet. But yeah, I think that would also be a good book to read. The first thing that I had to do was to say, okay, where's my time going? So I did what I call a time usage assessment. So I looked at my time and say, oh, I actually spend 8 hours, because most of us tell ourselves, hey, look, I can't write a book, I can't start a business, I can't exercise, I don't have enough time, you know. But most of the time, that's actually not true. We are using our time in things that don't align with our goals, most of us, right? If you have goals, or you have a certain life that you want to live, right, you need to make sure that your time aligns with what you actually want. Going back to that first quote, today is the fruit of yesterday and the seed of tomorrow. So you need to align your values, you need to align your time usage, rather, with your values and your goals. So I did that, and I saw that yeah, no, I was not doing things the right way, And then I reflected where I was, and where I wanted to go. And I needed to understand that, I must not be fantasizing. It's good to dream, right? But it's not good to fantasize. When I was young, I was like, oh, I could play for Kaiser Chiefs or Parrots, go play overseas for Manchester United at that point, because I thought I was good. They used to call me Maradona. But now, cut to 2015, 2016, I'm way older. That can't be something, a goal that I want to chase, you know what I mean? Because it's not impossible. Everything is possible, you know, but it's highly unlikely. So that goes more onto fantasizing, because I'm not as quick as I used to be. I'm not as fit as I used to be. So that's just fantasizing too much. But now I had dreams that were more pragmatic, right? I can change my body, I can spend more time with my kids, I can earn a better salary to travel, I can start a business. Um, I've learned about so many things in the past years, reading, mentoring, how I was struggling at work, getting my points across, things like that. Maybe I need to build a business around this and help people who struggled like me. Let me start smart is cool, make people understand that it's cool to understand and to know stuff, to be an intellectual, and whether you are in the art space or you're in the more so professional spaces, we all need mentors, we all need help, we all need to understand how you function, and we need to be productive and well and happy, because when you don't achieve your goals, right, your dreams, that's a source of unhappiness. So that was the most important thing for me. Finish my masters, change my body, spend more time with my kids, travel a bit more, and earn more, so I can do other things that I want to do. So those were my dreams. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start small, taking from tiny habits. So I set up easy, daily goals, things that were achievable. So thinking about exercise, what I did was, I didn't tell myself I'm gonna go to the gym. I used to do that, and it would happen sometimes very inconsistently because it was not, excuse me, formed as a habit yet, right? So it was hard for me to do it consistently. So I was like, okay, this time I'm gonna start very small. I'm gonna start exercising here at home in my house, and I'm gonna do it for 10 minutes before I shower and go to work. So I started with small things like that, and then I linked my actions to immediate rewards. So like exercising, right? As a new thing that I started, and yeah, just making the goals more manageable, my daily goals more manageable, right? Is that after exercise, because I love coffee now, right? Is that I want to drink coffee until I've exercised. So that's how I started. So I was like, okay, after I exercise, then boom, I drink coffee. So just having that coffee and felt like, okay, I earned this. My the reward was the coffee, so I felt good, and then I would take the shower. So that was my reward for exercising. So find things that you like and link them, to your actions. The other thing that I did was to change my environment, quite not even dramatic, but just to reduce friction for me to exercise. So I'll keep to the exercise example. What I did was simple things, right? I used to be an alarm snoozer. Alarm snoozes, boom, boom, I switch it off like three times until it's late. It's now crunch time. Then I run, I shower, wake everyone up. Let's go, get the kid ready for school. That was me. But now, if I needed to exercise, I can't afford to snooze. So I just took my phone, right? Instead of keeping it next to me, close to my bed, I took it and put it in the kitchen. Made the volume so loud, so that I would get out of bed and go switch the alarm off, right? And then what I did is that I put my gym bag with clothes already on top, folded, with my shoes also, to say, just in front of my door, close to my door, so that when I come back to switch off the phone, I see that, and I'm like, okay, there. Then I just wear my clothes, change my clothes, take off my PJs, then I exercise. So from my exercise perspective, that's how I reduce the friction to work out so easily, because there were used to be a lot of friction, right? I'm gonna work out after I go to work. Imagine now I'm tired, I'm going back home. I have to drive to the gym, I have to change after gym, then I have to drive back. So there's so much that I have to like keep committing to. And it just makes it even difficult for you to follow through, especially at the start, and to build that thing as a habit. Over time, you can afford to do that once exercising is now a habit of yours. And then how did I increase friction? Um, Increasing friction, with the example of watching TV, because I liked watching TV, or playing computer games, right? Or having a glass of wine. I did something quite simple. I took my PS and I hid it, right? I knew where it was, but like it was not in plain sight in front of me. So for me to actually play it would take some effort to plug it in. It was not already plugged in, you just HDMI to whatever and play, So I put the controller back, put the console in the drawer, so that it's not in plain sight. I don't see it, that's the prompt, and then want to follow through. And then with the alcohol, simply didn't buy it, or if I had it, I just put the beers in the drawer hot, so they were not cold. So if I want to drink, it's like, I have to wait another, so until they are cold. I would so once in a while drink, but in most cases, there's so much friction for me to drink or to play, my computer game, that I wouldn't do it. So those are some of the things that I did. And then I set up these things, and these things are quite important. They simple but very important, right? Is They're called implementation intentions, right? It's like, if yeah, they're called if and then plans, right? To deal with, like, regulating your behavior. So I would say, simple things like, yeah, if my alarm rings, I'm going to switch it off, then I will exercise, right? So that's an intention plan. And this I will do when? In the morning. So most of us are unable to follow through with the plans because we don't actually know, when am I gonna do this? Where am I gonna do it? For how long am I gonna do it? So that's what we call an implementation intention. To be able to follow through on something, you should have a place and time and a period of how long you're gonna do it. That helps you to follow through with that intended action or behavior. So those are some of the things I did. And I used to do a lot of informal commitment, what we call, contracts. I would get to work, I'm exercising. Look, hey, this is how I show people my fat body there, my, picture. I couldn't find the right one. I was bigger than the first one that I showed. But yeah, show people that and say, this is what I'm planning to do. And people, oh, really? And then people would see me, how's that going? It just reinforces that thing of me saying, yeah, 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 guys, this is what I'm on, this is what I'm doing. And I would even today tell people about Smart is Cool. This is what I'm planning to do. I want to release a journal. I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Smart is Cool podcast. So tell people everything. Even if I haven't done it, I would just speak about it and create this, vibe around whatever it is I wanted to achieve. And most people would talk to me about it and just keep it alive. Masters, how's that going? Are you finished? Are you, just reinforces, keeps me back, keeps me focused. Started taking more, sports, running, and being more active, going to the gym, exercising, etc., just to build a body that I was also proud of when I'm in the beach, or walking in the beach, etc., or taking photos like this, naked. Yeah, so it's possible. You can do it. That's me with my buddies now. I was mountain biking a few years ago, 2 years ago. Taking more activities, engaging in work activities. Not holding back. It was nice. That's the bottom picture there on the right, and then that's me and my buddies traveled. Now I was able to travel by myself and say to my wife, I'm gonna meet my boys in Cape Town. I'm gonna spend a weekend there. Boom, do it. Have a glass of wine, looking nice and slim. You know what I mean? It was nice, and I could travel with a family. This is me with a family in this botanical gardens in Cape Town, and just travel with my wife, just the two of us. We were in Zimbabwe. I think this was 2019. So my life was just changing, and I could see these changes, and I was so happy. That things were getting better, and this is just this year for me, right? Which was great. For the first time, I went to England. I was on top of the Tower Bridge there. I was in the UK. Yabona. I Begumnandi, guys, Begumnandi, London City. Doing the things. Now I was, I've work wise, I've managed, to craft, my own expertise and add value to the business, and that comes with also being appreciated, in forms of what you can do as a person who works for a business, and how much you earn, things like that. You have more. When you add value, you have more room to negotiate, certain things. So I went to, this UNAIDS is one of our biggest clients on one of the projects that I've worked on. And I went to Switzerland, and we just had like a week meeting, the full week, in Geneva, where I was engaging and talking from a strategic point of view, what we can do. So, just feeling good that I'm impactful as a person, my thoughts matter, and yeah, things are starting to roll. And then this is me and my bae there. We are in Paris at the Louvre Museum. And then, we, sorry, launched Smart School launched the journal this year, which was crazy to actually make happen. Concepts are something on paper, but when you want to get into business, start selling, print those things out, work with suppliers, design, um, try marketing for the first time, advertising, all that stuff, create storylines behind your brand. It was just another ball game, and I'm so happy, that this managed to well, I managed to make this a reality for myself, which was one of my goals, to launch a product under Smart is Cool, instead of just having a podcast, and talking to people, but having some a tangible product that we sell as a business. That was great. And yeah, this is the podcast. So the podcast called Change Makers started very well. I haven't this year, because my focus was like, okay, I can see that I can do a podcast. I can get better at becoming a host, improving my line of question. But my focus in 2022 was to say, let's form a product, let's sell a product, let's create, something out of what we've learned through the process of setting up a podcast and talking to people who are change makers. So I call them, people who are doing it, chasing their goals, and trying to see what similarities or challenges they had and how they're getting over them. And all of this essentially went into me thinking about how to package, the things that I did, and the things that they are doing, to live lives that are more fulfilling, into something like a journal. So I've come up now with something. So that was me. That's my life. That was my journey, and yeah. So I hope that people find that helpful. I didn't go into great depth about the solutions, but I hope that just this presentation in its own can help you start over and relook your resolutions and how to actually achieve the goals that you set for yourself, going forward. So I've come up with a program. I've called it Architect, basically creating your own future, and just crafting it, like Henry Ford said, right? The best way to predict the future is to create it, right? So the other book that I finished reading a few days ago, called Betting on a Ducky by Ntentonyati, says, we make our choices and our choices make us, which is deep, right? So whatever you choose tomorrow will make you the person that you are today. But as I explained earlier, choices are not just empty. They depend on a lot of things, but you have, you know, um, some sort of control, to recreate yourself and build a life that you want to build. So, what to expect, if you want to be part of this in 2023, is to help people who are still like me, because I also still struggle with certain goals. It's not all rosy, but there's a framework now of how I can actually achieve things that I want to achieve, right? So I want to help people, who are like me, to also achieve, because it's not impossible, it's very possible to get the things that you want. So it will be it will be a workshops, 4 sessions, 1 hour per session. Yeah, I will go deeper into thinking fast and slow, scarcity, tiny habits, and also share other resources, to create what we call hacks, right? To form sustainable long-term change, for your life. We will create vision boards, and I'll also come up with, help people create, goals. So we have goals, but there's a way, or you might know what your goal is, but there's a way to write it and a way to plan for it that often lacks. I feel like, I struggled, and I had to actually learn and dig deeper on how to do that, properly. And then I will add a complimentary hardcover Changemaker journal, which is worth 279. So this is the Changemaker journal. So you have this, you remember I spoke about the time usage assessment. You have that there, time usage assessment. You look at how you spend your time, or sleeping, travel time, school work, your chores, reading, da da da. Then you have this thing that I've, it's what it says. What will I do more of? or start doing. So after you look at how you use your time, you want to see how what activities, what things you need to change. So what will you do more of, or start doing if you're not doing that at all, based on the goals that you have. So the first page will be here, where you have your vision and you have your long-term goals, your short-term goals. I've split them into like your health and wellness, your career, relationships, your travel, and your finances, what you want to change on all of those. So you, after that, you must make sure that this page, and things that you do on a daily basis actually align to what you want to achieve in your life. And then this block here is where what you will write, what you will stop doing, right? So things, I had to stop watching TV because I at the time there was no reason for me to do it. So except, yeah, once in a while for entertainment, I can watch a soccer game and I can watch a movie, or a documentary, whatever. So it has that. And then you also have on this page is repeat, right? There's a nice quote there. Of course, I started with the today is the fruit of yesterday and the seed of tomorrow. That's the first quote. And then you have your affirmations there, and then you have what are you grateful for, and then just your goals, where you can also write your implementation plans, right? Where you're going to do this at what time, and for how long. And then and then when the day ends, you reflect on how did you do, were you able to achieve the goals that you set for yourself? How do you feel? Is there anything that you could have done better? Did you use the time the way you were supposed to do it? Were you intentional, etc.? And then you write your wins, right? What you were able to achieve that day, what you did, because that also links to this habit checklist. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. On a habit checklist is you planning your day, exercising, talking to people you love, meditating, reading, making sure that you get good quality sleep. It's very important. Something that a lot of people neglect is to rest, and take care of themselves. So all those things are important for you to actually become productive and healthy as a person, and impactful, in other people's lives. So quite pivotal. So you write your wins there, what you're able to achieve based on this habit checklist, things that you obviously choose to do. You don't have to do all of them. So that's why it says use or edit. And then also, the goals here that you wrote, the goals here that you wrote that you want to achieve, you would write that, as part of your wins. And you have a small space to be quite critical, and it should take, 10 minutes in the morning, maximum, 5 minutes as you get used to it. And in the evening, same thing, 5 to 10 minutes, to just reflect on your day. And you have a thoughts thing here, which I hardly use, but I sometimes do, where I point out my thoughts. Maybe something happened creatively that I want to start doing. I will write it about there. Or maybe something at work. Maybe I was scared to mention something, then I would write, oh, during this meeting, I was, not comfortable to raise my hand and say this point, and just, why was I not able to do that? I don't have to respond, but it's just, thoughts that come. It's like now the classic journaling, but with a very small space, so that you actually become very strategic about the thoughts that you track. Yeah, so that's the Changemaker Journal. This is with 279. Planning to create, Smart School Architects Facebook group by invite if you're part of this, so that you can engage with, like-minded individuals who have goals, who might have challenges, or who've had challenges that they've overcome, and they just want to be part of this process to get to a higher level. Engage with them and talk. Just build a community, of a people that think alike. And then there'll be check-in sessions every quarter, a total of 3 per year, with me. We just talk, what were your goals? We look at, and we troubleshoot. What have you been able to do? What have you not been able to do? Why do you think not? And we just work together to find out ways to see what we can improve, if there's room for improvement, or, clap for you, where you've done well, because most people don't appreciate, their wins. So that will be part of that. And then there'll be optional, more deeper coaching sessions if need be, and those will be at a discount of 50%. I don't have to discuss this now. If people are interested in that later on, I can get into it with the people who are part of that program, because I'm not doing it with people not doing the first program, so to speak. So yeah, what plot yourself in architect. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Do you want to form better habits, eat healthy, exercise, lose weight, or boost your energy levels? Do you want to develop more really fulfilling relationships? Spend your money better. Parenting better. Those are all habits that I had to start with, and then I feel like I'm on the right now, where I'm like, okay, I can be more productive. Well, and then number two, I wanted to say grades, so I'm not studying currently, but escalate my career a bit more. So take more, senior roles at work, or the other thing that I've done, obviously, is start my own business, which is Mother School, and I started that this year, as a business, so to speak, having a product, selling something, and I want to continue this next year, and I've also started working on a documentary, which is a smart school production. I'm so excited to see that happening. We were just filming this month. We've had a couple of shots in this year, and we'll continue with that next year. So just taking that a bit further. So you can choose where you want, but essentially this program, Architect, the way it's built, is to help with both things. Both tracks. You feel like you are far from it, or you are like me, like 2015, 2016, and you want to move and get better. This will work for you. And if you're in the right track but want to do more, right, achieve more, this is also meant for you, because we can work on how do you improve and become more productive. What are the challenges with starting a business, and how do you go about that, or escalating your career, etc. So how much are you willing to invest per month for this? Pay 1,000 per month for this? Will you pay 500 rands for this per month, or 200 rands? If I saying thousand, sorry, 1,500 and 200, not thousands. Apologies. Um, um, how much are you willing to invest per month for all of this, right? I don't know, but this is how much, per month in 12 months. This is how much we will charge. That's 960, right? So 960 will get you all of this. you know all of this will get you 960 will get you all of this, the architect program. So if you're interested, check the link. Hit me up on You can hit me up on WhatsApp or write me an email, so I'll put links on there, because this is on YouTube and might also be part of Instagram. Yeah, so check it out. And yeah, man, happy. I hope you had a good 2022, and I wish you all the best for 2023. Yeah, let's stay in touch. That's me, Katlego, your boy, signing out. Even if you are not able to spend 80 rands per month in the next coming year to do this for yourself, it's fine. I hope that part of what I presented was at least helpful to get you started. So peace out. Love you guys. Let's do this. Let's get it. You can be whatever you want to be, baby. Let's create the future that we want. We architects. Just like that. Yeah, 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 yo.